Today we're going to be working on Skill 6. Now, Skill 6 is a little different from the others because we're not actually going to be moving objects around the screen, but instead creating an object that we can use as a counter or an alarm clock, if you like. For example, if you have a maze game and you want to limit the amount of time someone has to complete a room, you could set up a timer that counts down from, for example, 30 seconds, and if the user hasn't cleared the room by then they would have to start again. To do this, we're going to need a few things. One of the first is we have to create our own variable. Now, we've looked at variables which are, for example, an objects.x variable tells us its x position on the screen, or an objects.y variable tells us its vertical position on the screen, or an object.direction, which will tell us the direction an object is moving in. In this case, we need to create our own object and our own variable to be able to keep track of the time that's remaining in the game. But first up, what we're going to need to do is set ourselves up a font, because we're going to draw the remaining time on the screen, and to do that we need a font that's going to be written on the screen. We'll just call this timer font, because that's going to be the, oops, I've got my caps lock on. Try again, timer font, and we could say it's Arial, but let's increase the size so that it's obvious on the screen, and you'll see it there. Just leave the character ranges as they are. Okay, so now we've got a font, and we will create an object, and this object will be obj timer. Right, so what do we need to do? Well, when we create the object, so we want to create event, we're going to need to set up our variable to be able to use that to count down the time remaining. So if we look on the control tab, we've got variables down on the bottom. These are the variable actions, and we drag the variable, set variable, onto the screen. We'll need to give it a name, and I'll just call this my timer, making note that I'm spelling it with lowercase my and capital T-I-M-E-R, and we'll give it a value of 10, and that's all. I said a value of 10. We'll give it a value of 0, and OK. The second thing we need to do is timers work by using things called alarms. So we'll need our alarm clock to go off, and because we want to count in seconds, we'll want our alarm to go off every second. So let's go to the main 2 screen, and you'll see we've got timing actions here. We'll need to use our set alarm. Now, remember in our last video we talked about the number of steps, 30 steps in a second. So if we want a timer to go off every second, we'd need to set the number of steps to what normally is 30. In this case, GameMaker has a variable that will tell us the number of steps in every second, and that variable has a name of room_speed. We could use just 30, but the room speed value may change to some other value at times. So just to become used to using variables, we're going to use the variable room speed. It normally has a value of 30, which 30 steps every second is what the game runs on. So we're setting the alarm to go off after 30 seconds. So the alarm goes off, 30 seconds has expired. Now, we've got events here that tell us when alarms are going off. Choose the event to add, that's an alarm. We're using alarm 0, and I'll just go back to the create event. You will see set alarm 0 here, and alarm 0 goes off. So we've set the alarm for a second, and this event is the alarm actually going off. What do we want to do? Okay, we need to use our variable again, and our variable was my time, and the value, what we want to do is we want to add 1 to my timer. We want to add 1 to the timer, and to add 1 we need to check the relative box. Okay, so what's happened so far? The variables, the objects created, we create a variable with a value of 0, we set the alarm to go off in 1 second. The alarm goes off, we add 1 to the variable. So we're counting up each time the alarm goes off. But of course we also have to reset the alarm. So once again we're going to set the alarm, the number of steps, room underscore speed, which is actually a value of, oops, I spelled that wrong, room speed, and OK. So now we have got creating, set the variable, ready at 0, set the alarm. When the alarm goes off, we add 1 to the timer value, and then we reset the alarm. So that'll keep going around. Every second it will add 1 to the variable. Alright, the next thing we need to do is to add our draw event, because we want to draw the value on the screen. So we'll just add the draw event, and what we need to do on the draw event is draw the text on the screen. So to do that, we'll go down to our draw actions. Now we want to set a color of the font we're going to use. So we'll set the text color to be a nice dark blue there. Okay. Okay, so now we've got our color set. We're going to use the font that we decided, so this is the setting for the font, and we'll select the font we're going to use. We've created our timer font. We can set the alignment to left or right, we'll just leave it there at left, and OK. Then what is it that we're going to be drawing on the screen? Well, this is the draw text action, so we'll select that. Now, we need to follow along fairly closely here because this is a little bit tricky. What we're going to draw is the text time, and notice I've used a single quote here to begin that single quote. Time equals space, and close the single quote. Then we need to plus and string. String is a function. We've talked about random functions earlier. String functions convert text, numbers to text values. So it was my timer, and close the bracket. So just to look at what we've got here, we've created a little piece of text by putting it in those single quotes. The plus sign adds the text together, which means it puts it beside the previous piece of text, and then we convert our timer variable to a piece of text as well. So we're joining two pieces of text, or as it's called correctly, concatenating the text together. Then we need to decide on a position on the screen. Now I'm going to move this just into the room a little, 20 pixels, and I'll move it also down just a little, 20 pixels. So now we've got the text drawn on the screen. Okay, now we need to place a room in our game. So we've got a room here, and we've got our timer object selected on the object tab, and we'll just place that object in the room. Now we haven't assigned a sprite to this object because it doesn't have a sprite. And whenever you have an object without a sprite, you'll see that it appears as just a blue dot with a red question mark in it. But at least now we can run the game. We've got our room, we've got the object in it, and you'll see what happens as we do this. here we go, our time is counting up. Now I said that this we wanted this to count up to 10, but what you'll notice here is that it goes to 9, 10, 11 and so on. And the reason for that is at this point we haven't yet set what time we want the alarm to expire. So we'll do that now. Now to make the or to check when the timer gets up to the value that we're looking for, we'll need to go back to our object and back to our draw event. And what we're going to do then is we're going to use or test the value of the variable. And to do that, you'll see that on the Actions tab, we've got variables across the bottom. The octagonal shape is test variable. And the variable we're going to test for is my timer. The value that we're going to test will be 10. So when my timer is equal to 10, we can do something. So what you see now when we've accepted that is it says if my timer is equal to 10, what we're going to do is we're going to put a little message on the screen and then we'll end the game. So we need to put those two things together into what we call a block. Because if ever we ask a question and we want to do more than one thing, we need to put that little piece of code into a block. So what we're going to do is we're going to give some information, and it just displays a message. Okay, time is up. Okay, and then we want to end the game. So you could either restart or end the game. I'll just end the game with that. So just to explain what we've done there again, on our draw event, we're drawing the timer. We set the color, set the font, and then draw the text. And after we've drawn it, we need to check if the timer is equal to 10. Then we're going to do two things, and we put those together in a block. Display a message and end the game. Let's see how that works this time. Run. Now our timer is counting. Should have probably made this only count up to 2 or 3, but anyway, 9. And time is up. You can see that that's actually showing 9 here, but don't worry about that. Time is actually up. We might be able to change that. So if we want to change that little bit there, what we'll do on our draw event is rather than say it's equal to 10, we'll say it's going to be larger than 10, and to speed us up, I'll put that back to 5. So if it's larger than 5, okay, let's run it. Counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times up. So there you go. That's skill. That's our skill. So don't forget to save, and we've got skill 6, and that's the end of it.